Okay, to provide more insights into the current volatility in global oil prices triggered by the ongoing tensions in the Middle East. I've now been joined by Olabode Sowunmi, an oil and gas consultant. Very warm welcome to Newsnight.
Good evening.
Yeah, the volatility, although there is a little respite now, oil dropping from about 120, crude oil prices dropping from about 120 high to about 90, hovering between 90 and 100. The ship has just been escorted past the Strait of
Farmers.
Hormuz and the rest. So it looks as if the prices may abate. But in Nigeria, what can we really attribute to it? The yo-yo rise and fall. Dangote has again reduced its own price, but the government is being totally silent. All the government agencies in charge of oil. Why?
As they should be, because it's a free capital, it's a free market.
Why should they be?
So that's an economic issue, but I'll give a basis.
Okay.
The free market over the centuries has been proven to be the best way to work. I mean, the world has tried communism, they've tried theocracy and all that, but they found that democracy seems to have some amount of stability. At the bedrock of democracy is the free market enterprise. So the idea that the forces of demand and supply must push and pull for there to be a balance is at the bedrock of that. But I haven't said that, specifically looking at what the issues are. The people here, the people in the US, the people anywhere, are using at the basis a commodity, and that commodity is crude oil. Like any other commodity, it has certain characteristics. It is fungible, it has uniform pricing. So, for example, we process gold here, we mine gold. But what we do here does not determine the international price of gold, because gold is a commodity, it has an international basis. The same thing with crude oil. Now, what has happened with the crisis in the Middle East is that about 50% of global crude oil deposits lie in the Middle East. About 40% of global trade in crude oil, one way or the other, passes through that strait. So if you hinder the flow of 40% of any goods, of any service, there's bound to be scarcity. And it's that scarcity that people are relating or reacting to. So in simple terms, the traditional, or should we say, the face value of the price of crude is what we are reacting to. Now, there is a bit of a difference with us because we actually produce. So because we produce, our supply chain does not necessarily pass through the Strait of Hormuz and the global complex that is there. And we understand that some, if not all of our local refiners, have some benefits in terms of the crude for Naira.
Are they working?
The crude for Naira.
Talk about the local refiners.
I'm not into the politics. I'm not into the politics. I'm just speaking to
You're a consultant in oil and gas, so you definitely have residual knowledge about it.
I do know, but it's not my place to talk about the political issues. What I do know is that there's a contract that is in existence, and that contract speaks to crude for Naira, and it was celebrated. And
but there are middlemen in that.
There are no middlemen.
They don't sell directly.
There are no middlemen. It is a contract between the refiners and Nigeria through the NNPC. There are no middlemen. So some of them, and that contract still exists. So there are other demands and all that. So it is incumbent upon us to interrogate what is in existence, the facts of the matter, and based on the facts of the matter, be able to analyze and let Nigerians decide for themselves.
Okay, Sowunmi, let's go on a short break. We'll come back again and look at, the pros and cons of the Naira for crude. If we have it directly, why is petroleum prices going? You're welcome back, and you're still watching Newsnight live from Nigeria's capital in Abuja. I still have with me Olubode Sowunmi. He's an oil and gas consultant. There's this notion that crude oil to our local refiners, at least there's a mid-term, long-term contract selling crude for Naira. At what point the dynamics change to affect the prices of refined products in Nigeria based on the imbroglio in the Middle East.
So, to the extent that about 65% of the cost of the finished product is dependent on the source product, which is crude oil, the price of crude oil will affect the final price. So, the issue is about what is the price of crude oil to the local refiners or those who supply us. So, it is common knowledge that there is a crude for naira deal. It's not a public contract. So it's not like a contract that people know
That's
where the details are. There is a school of thought that says that the contract is such that it reflects the current value of crude per time and the current value of naira to the dollar per time. But there is another school of thought that says that that contract was on a fixed amount, that irrespective of the fluctuations and volatility, that price will remain the same. In the absence of seeing that contract and knowing what is in the contract, we're not able to know which is the case. If
then
the
where's the
latter
place of the regulator?
the regulator definitely will know, but the point is that it is not public information.
Are they regulating very well in this situation? How are they coming, to assist the already burdened Nigeria? I agree it's a free economy,
Yeah.
yes. But how is the government cushioning this effect?
So sometimes we need to get an understanding. So if we go to the market and price of pepper goes high, do you call on the Minister of Agriculture to come and affect? It's because that is not how it works. So there is an economic situation. There are people who have invested and who have taken risks, which is where the Dangote and Co come in. And as a result, they must engage the forces of demand and supply. Let us not forget that irrespective of whatever, even if there's no regulator, the players can only increase their prices to a certain extent, after which they start to get to a diminishing return, because only so many people can afford it. And if those people do not form a critical mass, they won't have profit. So there is a balance between increase and profit, even for the players. Where the government comes in, where the regulator comes in, is that they kind of act like a big brother in the overall situation to ensure that the economy does not collapse and that the Nigerian, the man on the street, does not get a short end of the stick. So doing that is a balancing act. So it's not like this is what you must do or this is what you must not do, because you see, the regulator is not on anybody's side. He's on the interest of the players who have invested and who keep the economy going.
Doesn't matter how.
They are also on the interest of the people. That is why they are not players. So they must ensure that everything works well.
So it doesn't matter how suffocating the situation is for the people.
That is not what I've said.
No, the government wouldn't intervene. It's a free market economy.
That's not what it means.
No, okay.
That's not what it means at all.
Okay, let me ask you the last question. If we look beyond the immediate crisis now that we are having, right, what kind of structural adequacies should the government be putting in place to cushion this kind of effect if they come up again? Because we hear subsidies have been removed, but some people are still saying there's still subsidy.
Well, so those who are saying there's subsidy needs to prove it. I mean, anybody can say anything, and people do say things at times to distract and for whatever reasons. So we don't speak to speculations. We speak to facts. We speak to figures, and based on that, we make projections and we make decisions. That's the job of what the consultant should do. In terms of what can be done and what should be done, I think many times it's good to plan, scenario planning, future planning, all those things, they're very important. But there are some things that you cannot plan for. So if a plane is crashing, at the moment the plane is crashing, what can the airline do? I mean, they can do things before there's a plane crash. They can do some things after the plane has crashed and maybe compensation to the families. but the plane is crashing. What has happened is a force majeure. It's like a fire incident. It's like an earthquake. A war is a force majeure. I mean, if you have people have businesses worth millions of dollars in Iran, the whole place has been bombed. What's going to happen? You understand? You can't mitigate those kind of circumstances. So there's a limit to what planning can do. But however, we can make ourselves more resilient. And this is not the first time there has been war or crisis. I mean, there was a time.
We didn't witness this, I mean, during the Israeli Sinai War, you know, in the early 70s when Nigeria's oil boom really took off. Rather, what we had was like the cement armada, the ports where, you know, cement was everywhere. There was the Udoji Awards and the rest. So
I think there's
why are we not reaping from, you know, the rising crude oil prices very quickly, please?
I'm not sure if we are not reaping, because in terms of income to Nigeria, there is more income. That's to the government. It is how it is being distilled downstairs that is a different thing. But in terms of what has happened over the years, there may be selective omission, because every 10 years there's one major crisis that increases crude. From Venezuela to Iran-Iraq crisis, every decade, there is always a major global crisis that causes spike in crude oil prices. And we should expect it in the next couple of years after this is over.
Okay, let's see. Apart from being an oil and gas consultant, you seem to be another Nostradamus here. Thank you so very much.
Thank you, sir.
Olubode Sowunmi is an oil and gas consultant.